Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. Today I will first talk about what's happening in Xi'an City, the second major city under full-scale lockdown in China. Then I will briefly talk about what kind of price ordinary Chinese people have to pay for the CCP to hold the Winter Olympics in Beijing, as well as my thoughts on the CCP's latest crackdown on Hong Kong's free press. First, let me give you a quick update on the situation in Xi'an. First of all, the strict lockdown hasn't prevented the virus from spreading. Up to today, the total cases in Xi'an has reached 1,117. And for 5 consecutive days, each day the new cases were more than 100. But those are only official numbers. What are the real numbers? We have no idea. Also, it is reported that the main variant in Xi'an this time is still Delta. Seems Omicron has not spread in China on a large scale yet. So in this case, there may be another huge wave of Omicron in China later. Now let's watch a video which shows that Xi'an is urgently building a temporary hospital to deal with the surge of new cases, like what Wuhan did in the beginning. Secondly, how are people coping with everything? In the first 2 days after the lockdown, people were still allowed to go shopping once every 2 days and 1 person per family per time. But now a curfew is imposed all the time, all day long, all night long. Nobody is allowed to leave home at any time. Let me show you a picture. See this notice? It says from 8:30 a.m. on December 27th, nobody is allowed to go out, and the police will patrol the streets and arrest anyone who dares to go out. And as soon as one is arrested, he or she will be fired from work immediately, and the leaders of that person's workplace will also be held responsible. Heavy fines will be imposed as well. On December 28th, Xi'an Air Force Military Medical University disbanded a 150-person medical team to urgently take over the quarantine ward of the designated hospitals. So you can say that in a sense, those hospitals are now under military control. Right now, the biggest problem for many people is lack of food. See this picture? The top post says that all shops are closed now. He or she cannot get any food. This person tried to order some online, but his or her order got cancelled. No food at all. I don't know how I can carry on anymore. The bottom post says that he or she had trusted the government when the government said that there were plenty of supplies, that there was no need to stock up. So this person didn't stock up. Now she or he has not eaten anything for 2 days. This post was by a woman who is 9 months pregnant. She said she came to Xi'an half a month ago to deal with some urgent personal issues and has been staying in a rental property with others. Now she's about to give birth But as her family is not in Xi'an, she desperately needs to go back to her home to give birth. Otherwise, who is going to look after her and the new baby? She has only a few hundred yuan with her. With so little money, how can she survive if any unexpected thing happens to her and the new baby? Also, the worst thing is the hospital is closed. Where is she going to give birth if she has to give birth in Xi'an? But she was not allowed to leave, and nobody could tell her what the conditions are for her to leave. She has been testing negative all the time, but still cannot leave. So she asked at the end of her post, what on earth are the conditions to leave? Can we only live as corpse? She used the phrase 一尸两命, which means one body, two lives. If a pregnant woman dies, that is one body, two lives. So this is a screenshot of a press conference in Xi'an. While the official was talking, all the live chats below were the same sentence. Please arrange food supply in communities. Everybody said the same thing. So shortly afterwards, see this red button? It shows the authorities had to turn off the live chat. This post shows there is only one food delivery site in a very large community. Groceries are temporarily delivered there for everybody to buy, but the supply is very inadequate, and whoever arrives late has nothing to buy. This picture shows posts from 3 different users. The top one says, now it's the same as keep the island, but get rid of all the people. This is a very famous phrase that the CCP used toward Hong Kong when people in Hong Kong protested against the CCP in 2019. It means that we will just keep the island of Hong Kong, but we don't care if all the people in Hong Kong died out or leave. The second post says, keep the city, get rid of the people. He or she is obviously applying that same saying about Hong Kong to Xi'an. And the last one says, don't say Xi'an stay strong, let everyone die out. An empty city is good enough. These are 5 comments from 5 users in Xi'an. The top one says, it's the 8th day since the lockdown. We have no food left. I have been drinking water to fight the hunger. I'm really hungry. All the other users are complaining that they can't buy food from anywhere. The last one says, the virus hasn't died yet, but its host is starving to death. I'm in Weiyang district. Quite humorous, right? So this is the receipt of someone showing that he or she has spent 9,909 yuan and 91 cents to buy the food listed on the receipt. So nearly 10,000 yuan for some food of maybe only a week. Do you have any idea of how much 10,000 yuan is? Well, in May last year, the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang said that 600 million people in China have a monthly income of less than 1,000 yuan. So now you get the idea. For this reason, for this person who can count himself or herself lucky that he or she was able to buy that many groceries during the lockdown. Only she or he had to spend maybe 10 months' income to buy food for just 1 week. So that's how the price is soaring during the lockdown. So let me show you another photo. This post talks about a group of junior high school's resident students. The school suddenly announced that everyone must leave the school as the school was going to close. So these students left and planned to go home, but they were told that they couldn't leave as they didn't have a testing result. So they had to return to the school only to find that the school had already closed. So they had to wander around on the street with their luggage and bags in very cold weather. It will soon get dark. How could these poor children do during the cold night? Apart from food supply, people with chronic diseases also encountered great difficulties. For example, if someone needs to go to the hospital regularly for kidney dialysis, what can he or she do? Will his life be in danger? For a city with 30 million people, this kind of barbaric lockdown without proper logistic arrangements will only bring more disasters to people, right? Let's watch another video from Guangxi province in China. This shows people are publicly shamed for allegedly smuggling people across the China-Vietnam border in breach of pandemic control measures.
Yamak này, bị xía này. Thấy miệng rằng này.
进入静息，让静息更加安全稳定。依家話廣大市民同胞，依家境外疫症四處爆發，回流國家。
Well, I think I don't need to say too much more about this video. If the so-called pandemic control has been politicized and regarded as the #1 most important issue in the country, especially in the CCP's China, where there are no human rights at all, what can you expect? Now, let's watch another video which shows authorities actually breaking into somebody's home and smashing their stoves and a special kind of bed called can to stop them from burning coal.
这不是一句话没说对，把锅给砸了，这不是？炕也给刨了。
Well, if you have read the title, you may have already found out that the purpose for the officials to smash people's stoves and cans is to ensure the air quality for the Beijing Winter Olympics. With the opening date of the Winter Olympics getting closer and closer, ensuring the air quality and preventing the winter haze has become a political task for Beijing and Hebei province. Right now, Hebei is forcing people to stop burning coal and to start using natural gas or electricity instead. Some residents have been banning from burning firewood and have their stoves smashed. Right now, the weather is freezing cold, but not everyone can afford to use natural gas or electricity to heat the house. They have been using coals for many, many generations. With their stoves and the cans smashed, how can they survive this winter? This winter, nobody knows, and no one cares. But there's also a piece of good news to share here. Let me pull it up. So this morning, I read the news that hundreds of Mexicans are seeking compensation from the CCP and the World Health Organization for negligence in their management in COVID. I have long since said that to find a cure for the CCP virus, we have to get to the bottom of this issue. Where did the virus come from? Who is responsible for the spread of it, with such huge losses of human lives and other unmeasurable losses and suffering? If we just let it go without at least making some effort to hold the CCP responsible, do we deserve to get back our normal life again? Lastly, I want to briefly talk about the news of the CCP's latest crackdown on Hong Kong's free press. You may have already read the news that over 200 police officers from Hong Kong's National Security Department raided the offices of online pro-democracy media outlet Stand News yesterday, that's December 29th, and arrested 6 current and former staff members. As a result, Stand News ceased operation. Not long ago, in June this year, another independent newspaper, Apple Daily, was also forced to close due to the CCP's suppression. Why would the CCP fail the free press so much? Let me tell you a real story about that happened to me in July 2019 during the peak of the Hong Kongers' protest against the CCP. I was in Washington, D.C. then, working as a journalist for the Epoch Times. One day, while waiting for a friend in a Chinese restaurant very close to the White House, I overheard 2 young Chinese women at the next table talking about the situation in Hong Kong. One said in Chinese, 2 million people took to the street. There were many young students who were easily misled and knew nothing about the real situation. Another woman agreed and said, yes, what a pity. They were fooled and manipulated. I was so astonished while hearing that. I sighed to myself and didn't know what to think or say. Then I suddenly remembered a very famous sentence beginning with the longest distance between 2 people is not, but. Almost automatically, I finished this sentence in my mind like this. The longest distance between 2 people is not how far away they are from each other, but in the fact that they are reading different media. It was very obvious that although those two young Chinese women lived in the capital city of the US, they were still reading Xinhua People's Daily, Weibo, WeChat, or other Chinese media that carry the same kind of message and propaganda from the CCP. So at that moment, although I was just sitting next to them, my view on the protests in Hong Kong was a world away from theirs just because I was reading different kinds of media reports. So that's why the CCP won't tolerate the free speech and the free press in Hong Kong. It's a pity that the world has been watching Hong Kong being killed by the CCP little by little, but failed to stop the killing. Well, that's all for today. I'm sorry that for my last show in 2021, I didn't have much good news to share with everyone. Will the new year bring us something better? Let's hope and fight for it. In any case, I hope every one of you and your families have a very happy New Year. See you next year. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.